Alexander the Great, a king, a warrior, a legend. He conquered the world before he was 30 years old. How did one man change history forever? The story begins in 356 BC in a city called Pella. This was the capital of Macedonia, a land of brave warriors. Alexander was the son of King Philip II. His father was a strong man who unified the Greek tribes. His mother, Queen Olympias, was a woman of mystery and power. She told her son that he was not an ordinary human. She said, "You are a descendant of the great hero Achilles." She even claimed that the god Zeus was his real father. These stories lived inside Alexander's heart since his childhood. He grew up believing that he had a divine mission to fulfill. Alexander was not just interested in war and swords. He had a very curious mind and loved to learn new things. His father wanted the best education for the future king. So, he hired the most famous teacher in history, Aristotle. Aristotle taught him that a great leader must be fair. He explained that the world was much larger than Greece. Aristotle was a philosopher who knew everything about the world. For 3 years, he taught Alexander about many subjects. They talked about medicine, science, religion, and politics. Aristotle taught him that a king must use his brain, not just his muscles. This is a great lesson for us. Knowledge is a powerful weapon. Alexander asked many questions about the stars and the ocean. Alexander's favorite book was the Iliad by Homer. This book tells the story of the Trojan War and the hero Achilles. Alexander carried this book with him during all his travels. He kept it under his pillow every night while he slept. He wanted to be as brave and famous as the heroes in the book. He dreamed of having his own legendary story one day. When Alexander was a teenager, a merchant brought a horse to the palace. The horse was huge, black, and very wild. No one could ride him. Many brave soldiers tried and failed. King Philip was angry and said, "This animal is useless." But the young prince saw something different in the animal. But young Alexander was watching the horse very closely. He noticed that the horse was jumping because of a simple thing. The animal was terrified of its own shadow moving on the ground. Alexander challenged his father. "I can ride this horse." His father laughed, but he allowed the boy to try. Gently, Alexander turned the horse's head toward the sun. Now, the horse could not see its shadow anymore. The animal became calm and quiet in an instant. Alexander jumped on its back and rode across the fields. His father cried with joy. "Macedonia is too small for you, my son." The horse was named Bucephalus, and they became inseparable. They stayed together through many years of war and glory. In 336 BC, a tragedy changed Alexander's life forever. His father, King Philip, was assassinated during a celebration. Suddenly, at the age of 20, Alexander became the king. The enemies of Macedonia thought, "He is just a boy. We can defeat him." They did not know that Alexander was already a master of war. But Alexander was a natural leader and very fast. He quickly secured his position and organized the army. He did not want to stay in Macedonia protecting the borders. He had a bigger dream, to conquer the Persian Empire. He looked at the horizon and prepared for a long journey. The Persian Empire was the superpower of that time. It was rich, massive, and had millions of soldiers. King Darius III thought Alexander was no threat. He sent a message telling the young king to go home. Alexander replied that there was only room for one king. Alexander ignored the message and crossed the sea to Asia. He met the Persian army at the Battle of Issus. The Persians had more soldiers, more horses, and more money, but Alexander had a superior strategy and brave men. The sound of the swords and shields was like thunder. During the battle, Alexander saw King Darius in his chariot. He led his best soldiers in a direct charge against the Persian king. Darius was shocked by the courage of the young Macedonian. The Persian king turned his chariot and fled the battlefield. Alexander won a victory that changed the course of history. He showed the world that a small army can defeat a giant. After his victory, Alexander marched south to Egypt. The Egyptians hated the Persians and welcomed Alexander. They called him a liberator and a hero of the people. In a sacred temple, the priests crowned him as a pharaoh. They even called him the son of the god Amun. Alexander stayed in Egypt for some time to organize the land. He founded a new city and named it Alexandria. This city would become the center of world culture for centuries. It had the greatest library and the tallest lighthouse in the world. He wanted to create a place where all people could study together. Alexandria became a bridge between the East and the West. King Darius was not finished yet. He gathered a new army. This time he had elephants, chariots with blades, and 200,000 men. They met at the Battle of Gaugamela on a giant open field. The dust was so thick that the soldiers could not see the sun. The Persian army looked like an infinite ocean of gold. Alexander remained calm and waited for the perfect moment. He found a small gap in the Persian lines and attacked. Again, King Darius was afraid and ran away into the mountains. The Persian Empire was officially defeated. Alexander was now the king of Asia and the master of Babylon. He entered the city of Babylon as a triumphant god. Alexander was still not satisfied. He wanted to see the end of the world. He led his army across the high mountains and into India. He fought against local kings who used giant war elephants. The battles were very hard, and the weather was terrible. They faced strange animals and dense, dark jungles. His men had been away from their homes for 8 long years. They were tired of the rain, the diseases, and the constant fighting. They sat on the ground and refused to move any further. Alexander realized that his men could not follow his ambition anymore. With a heavy heart, he decided to return to Babylon. He respected his soldiers because they were his family. In the year 323 BC, Alexander returned to the great city of Babylon. He was planning new adventures, but his body was weak. He developed a terrible fever that lasted for 10 days. At the age of 32, the great conqueror could not speak. His generals stood around him in total silence. Alexander the Great died in the prime of his life. His death is one of the greatest mysteries in history. Some people believe he was poisoned by his own generals. Others think he died of a natural disease, like malaria. He left a massive empire, but no child to take his place. The world would never see a leader like him again. Alexander died young, but his legacy is immortal. He spread the Greek language and culture across 3 continents. Because of him, different worlds began to talk to each other. He showed that one person with a vision can change everything. Today, his name is still remembered in every country. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, subscribe for more historical stories and mysteries. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next chapter.